And I did want to ask you back to your grounding tether there. I wanted to ask you if it is for grounding, how it works, and if you think, does everyone need it no matter where they are, or is it specific conditions like if you're close to a cell tower or special soil under your feet? How does, I'm not real familiar with the power of grounding.
Sure. We briefly touched on the electrical field necessary for your cell to breathe. That directly relates to pH, by the way. So acidity equals higher voltage, radioactive heat, okay? And it's acid. It's inflammatory, it's oxidative, and it's cumulative. So we're solving this problem from its very origin, which is voltage. So the Earth provides this in its natural form at 003 millivolts during the day. And at night, it goes down into the negative, right? There's the world doesn't have that much electricity because the sun is not irradiating it already. And it sinks into the negative at nights, and it makes your cells breathe and subdivide. And you've got Dr. Mercola and Dr. Jerry Tennant talking about this and all of its science. I mean, in a 1-hour video, you can learn how this is true. I mean, they're actually connecting gold wires into a cell and its membrane and its outside part of it, and measuring the acidity and the field of each, just to understand, right? When is it that it subdivides? Not through food, not through anything, but through electricity. So now imagine not having your body all day and all night in the proper electrical field. So this connects you to the Earth, but it needs to be measured with under $100 of equipment. All you need to do is turn it on and off. The instructions are there. I've directed thousands of my customers and my clients to purchase this device because, you know, like I said, I'm not an electrician, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I'm somebody that saved his own kid's life and helped thousands of people. I'm a doer. And when I watched that in the hundreds and then it turned into the thousands, and then I watched people get younger than me, and then my own body waste went back to when I was 20, you know, within months. My own energy levels increased to that of when I was a teenager. Even though I'm 42 now, I can run all day, I can swim all day, I can go on a bike all day like I used to, right? Then I realized, like, wow, this is the energy that everybody needs. I don't eat that much anymore because I know where to get my energy from, right? So it solves many problems globally and environmentally. You're not processing that much food, you're not inducing that much inflammation, and you're living off of an energy field that is there already all day.
That's fabulous. Alfredo,
I connect through a grounding rod, right? And these products, literally right here is about $60 worth of products. Earthing.com. Clint Ober, a friend of mine, I was his only representative in the entire West Coast in the United States, selling thousands of sheets that people were sleeping on that are silver threaded. And it has a grade, and it conducts the pulse of the Earth at night. But what it does really is protects you from having to resist erratic voltage that comes from your electrical grid. So that's problem number one, and that's superficial. Problem number two is that now that field is also contaminated with microwave or radio frequencies and cycles per second. You know, it should be delivered to you clean at 60 cycles per second. It's moving. And in that moving, it's collecting protons around it. They just can't separate it. Electricity is an aberration of nature. It never happen. And because of that, in the United States, it's illegal not to have grounding, proper grounding, because it's potential for heat. It was lighting houses on fire, right? And then when you don't do the proper circuit, then it catches on fire. But then nobody told you that it's doing the same for your tissue. It's literally taking your energy. And it's happening all night. So when you don't sleep connected to the Earth, you are resisting and you're accumulating all this radiation, and it's happening every single house.
That's amazing.
Yes. So it's step number one on those children is to ground them, because only then they will have the proper electromagnetic environment for their own little bodies to fix themselves. And it happens so fast, faster than the science can't understand.
Thank you. I mean, this could last for a couple weeks today. I need to kind of move us along, but that's fabulous. Thank you so much. I want to learn more. I want to go through your protocol myself. So we'll be looking into that. And in a related question, I wanted to ask you your opinion of, and I'm kind of new to this topic after watching an interview yesterday with Dr. Magda Havas and another one through the 5G Crisis Summit that's online going on right now, sponsored by Josh Del Sol and Sayer G. Fabulous. It's so strong. Highly recommend everyone tune in. It's going on now. Just enter into the search terms 5G Crisis Summit. But Dr. Magda Havas mentioned about the PEMF devices, and she seemed to think it's only if someone is really harmed, if they are highly electrosensitive and really struggling, that they need to get more healthy before they would use this type of device. I believe that's what she was sharing. And it seemed to have something to do with balancing the blood, the white blood cells, whatever, after a lot of exposure, computer, and I'm just have sketchy details. But would you like to talk about that?
Absolutely, yes. I've been invited to measure these devices with my methods that just only compare what these devices do for you as opposed to what the Earth will do, right? I love those devices, and the science behind them are great. You know, you can actually see cellular change through their studies, but they forgot one thing. Because they don't have to put you through the grounding process, because nobody requires them to have a grounded device. They ground it from the electricity to a specific part that won't damage the device. But then they don't ground all the way through to the part that you touch. So I've measured these pulse electromagnetic frequency devices like MATs that are great, and there are people that were very sick were using them. And yes, they can raise your voltage too. So you're not getting the full medicine of it, if you know what I mean. And it's fixable by you putting it on the ground, but knowing that that ground is not electrified, okay? And we will share some videos in English too of what that looks like. How sometimes taking your shoes off works against you because there's a grid around you, and there's businesses, and then you live in a building, there's wires underneath that floor, and cement will conduct that charge. So
Right. Yeah, not just.
my suggestion is that every parent, you know, it's just like having a thermometer when you have a child. You should also have a body voltmeter. You know, it's even more important.
Boy, we just weren't given enough information, right? When we have children, they didn't come with all this information that we really need to know. And so, but, better late than never that we're catching up.
Right.
But I think
you were just caught in an accident. That's it. You know, maybe there isn't anybody pulling strings, but you and I know there are. But the things were created for profit, and then we were caught in the middle. And what we forgot is its impact on our planet and on our bodies. Right. The loss of your vitality. You know, that's something that you can't really measure, but it's happening. You know?
and it tends to happen so slowly that many people will say, oh, I'm getting older, and I guess I'm just not as, I can't do that anymore. But I don't prescribe to that, and I'm looking to be younger next year, and we're reading a book about that. So I want to know all about that. So
Yeah.
I think now might be a good time to mention the symptoms. Many people tuning in might not be real familiar, because the symptoms being of around exposure to the wireless technology and dirty electricity and all of that can be so all over the place, from recurrent headaches to tinnitus, bloody nose and ears and dizziness, that I think it'd be good to mention that. And then longer term, it can go to be more serious with the depression and anxiety and suicide. So would you like to speak a little bit about what people might be on the lookout for if they're not really familiar with it, which most of us aren't? They might run to the doctor and say, oh, my child's had bloody nose for the last couple of weeks. What's going on? Oh, here, take a pill, and so
Absolutely. It starts with the loss of energy first. When you realize that you now don't have the energy for something, you have just recently been exposed to high electromagnetic fields. When you all of a sudden can't stay awake through a movie, when you're craving your bed, right? Because that's your body knows. That's a clear indication that you're exposing yourself to way too much radiation. Then there's the other more extreme symptoms like lymphedema, blood pressure problems, diabetes, lack of sleep, too much cortisol in your bloodstream. So you're stressed all the time. You can't sleep when you should. And you're tired, essentially. So how this radiation gets into you, you will never know unless you measure it. You know what I mean? You need to know scientifically through your eyes that you're stepping on a floor that is not taking your energy. You need to know that you're not sleeping on a bed that is not taking your energy. And there's only one way. The chronic fatigue syndrome has got to be the disease of the century, right? Where you just don't have it anymore. And that's happening at a really early age. And then, of course, you got the extreme cases. Because this radiation magnetizes your blood and your lymphatic, your lymph, it makes them not move, okay? They've lost their ability to go and clean themselves because they're clinging on to the walls of your arteries and your veins and your lymphatic pathways so that it doesn't turn into a mutant cell. So it's giving you a chance still, but now you've got one cell less to operate and to produce energy. So you're operating with less fluids. That's what my hands were able to feel. After the thousands of cases where I went to see, I could feel your fluids were stuck to the walls of your arteries and your veins. You know, that I understood. I'm a massage therapist, certified massage therapist. I know what it feels like. I have more hours than anybody that I know because I was required to have the hours to operate spas at high level, like for MGM Grand, for Disneyland, you know, big corporations. So in essence, you're operating with less of your ability to create energy. So then that effect is happening and you're accumulating. And the only antidote for that is the earth. How ironic, right? And it's free. It's free. Nobody profits from it. Except, you know, the guy that sells these, but who cares? It's $60. And it's going to save you from a tumor and cancer in the future because in the end, when that cell just never had the chance, it'll give up on you. All right? It's just a matter of time because then another one's going to get there. And then you're going to start to interfere your flow of fluids, okay? And then that creates inflammation. And then that's going to compress the space that your nervous system is. And then an organ is not getting the message. And then that's going to create a little fibrosis. And that fibrosis is just going to grow. And that fibrosis in that spot is going to interfere with the function in your organs. And that's going to turn into a tumor. All it needs is electrons. It needs to flow. And the earth provides them for free. And the good food, of course. Food that hasn't been packaged and dyed and lost all these electrons, you know.
We need to eat closer to the vine.
Yes.
Definitely.
From the farm to the table, literally.
Appreciate your sharing that.